Welcome back to the Rustic Spirits podcast. We are back in our little studio after a couple of weeks of doing some different things.
In the rustic studio.
The rustic,
it's
rusty
literally
studio.
rustic studio. It's really hard to not feel like a news presenter.
Oh,
Which
yeah.
is like the last
I need a set of papers that I can shuffle in front of me.
thing that I would ever want to be. It's been about a month since we've been here. We've done some other things.
Yeah, we did the collab with Hayes Homestead, which
Yeah.
was heaps of fun. And then we did a little family chat with our kids.
Yep.
Turned out we hadn't completely screwed them up, which was, bonus.
Bonus. We're all a little screwed up though, right?
Sure.
You and I have actually gone on another podcast, like we've recorded
Oh, yeah, that was super fun. So we'll actually,
in a real studio.
that won't come out for a few weeks, hey, but when it does, we'll...
I think in 3 weeks or so.
Yeah, we'll definitely be sure to let you guys know about that. That was on a parenting podcast, some friends of ours. That was really cool.
Considering we hadn't completely screwed our kids up.
Definitely felt more confident to go on that podcast after
I've never really wanted to speak about parenting until my kids were adults, because it's like, yeah, why do I listen to you? Like, did you keep them alive? Are they in a psych ward? Are they functioning human beings? Look, that's debatable a little bit, but...
What, that we're all functioning human
Shots
beings?
fired, Kirsty.
Good thing they don't listen to this.
We have had a bit of a holiday as well.
Oh, true.
Like, we didn't make videos for a couple of weeks. That was really nice.
Not gonna lie, really nice.
It was really nice to not just, like, when your entire life is content, which is so not us. Like, I know you're like, yeah, but it is you. Like, I was never the person to walk around with my Instagram out everywhere. Like, I went to post something. It was our anniversary yesterday. I went to post something on my Instagram for our anniversary, and I'm like, wow, I think I've posted like 9 things in the year.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, there's our last year's anniversary photo. It was like literal, like, kids' birthdays, your birthday, and the 2 concerts that I went to. That was it. So, yeah, when your life is content, it can get a little taxing. I don't know how the Kardashians do it.
It's nice to also just kind of check out from that space a little bit and just go, oh yeah, we're normal.
We did too.
Everything's fine.
Everything's fine. We needed to as well for our brains.
Yeah.
Like, the world is crazy.
Speaking of...
I find myself getting a little sucked into that sometimes.
Yeah, that was also challenging, I found, to tune out, like take a break from content creation, but to tune out and take a break from content as well. You realise just how much, especially as, like, I guess, content creators, and that's not what this podcast is going to be about, but as content creators, I find myself consuming content a bit differently now. Like, I'm looking at it for inspiration, I'm looking at it for research, I'm looking at it so that I can keep up with, like, especially because we have a podcast, like keeping up with what's going on.
I think I would want to do that anyway.
Yes, but...
Is that like a symbol of becoming 40? Because I've never been interested in politics before. Or maybe it's just like a heightened sense of responsibility. Maybe we can talk about that.
I also feel like it's where the world is at right now. Like everything, like, social media, news, mainstream, old school news. I was trying to think of what you call it. Traditional legacy media. There we go. Old school.
Old news.
Yeah.
The newspaper.
But the way that it works now, to actually do a little 2 weeks, like, try to tune out of that stuff.
It was really good for our mental health.
Yeah, I think it would be good to, like, just factor that in throughout the year, hey?
Read a paper book.
I did read a paper book.
Yep.
I realised how much I missed it.
Yep.
If you're looking for a good book recommendation and you're a total nerd, Andy Weir, Project Hail Mary, movie coming out with Ryan Gosling this year, if you don't want to read the book, but the book was absolutely awesome.
Andy Weir is one of your favourite authors.
Well, he wrote The Martian, so, you can't go wrong in my eyes.
Regan's favourite
He's my
movie.
new Michael Crichton. I was seriously sad. So Michael Crichton, Jurassic Park, The Andromeda Strain, Prey, like heaps of really great, but he was a total nerd and wrote like real nerdy books.
And Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park was a really nerdy book. Like, you learn heaps about genetic engineering in that book. And so I was super sad when Michael Crichton died. Like, number one, because Michael Crichton died. That's just sad in and of itself. But I didn't have any more of that kind of book. And now Andy Weir has, like...
He's the new guy.
He's my new guy. So, yeah, read a paper book. I went to a concert.
I got a hammock for Christmas, so I lay in the hammock.
Yeah.
From the pond.
Oh, yeah.
Are we going to call it the pond?
The pond.
Our little pond.
The cattle trough.
The cattle trough.
Yep.
The stock tank feeding trough that...
You're not supposed to swim in. Do you know what? I'm going to say it. If I don't have to pool fence my dam, why do I have to pool fence a cattle, like it's literally a large cattle trough, just because it's in proximity? It's actually as close to my house as the dam is, but I don't know, there's a rubber tyre tube in it, so all of a sudden that makes it dangerous. Anyway, whatever. We had this argument on the last farm that we worked and managed because council came out one day and said, oh,
that's a swimming
It's a swimming
pool.
venue. I'm like, that's a farm
that's
dam.
a farm dam.
And I dare you to tell farmers in this region that they need to put pool fences around it. So anyway, we're not going to go there.
In our pond, cattle trough,
Floated?
I plunged.
We've had some hot days.
We've had some 42-degree days.
Yeah, crazy.
It just is too hot to do anything. So from full immersion to the hammock and then back again, that was my 2 weeks.
It was nice.
It was nice. But we're back.
All right, speaking of the crazy world, what's going on in politics at the moment?
Nothing much. Well, so before Christmas, we did a couple of conversations, one about gun laws and about what happened in Bondi, which hasn't that been an interesting month of developments. We talked a little bit about red tape and just what it's like to be a homesteader and all of the red tape that you need to come up against just to live your life and breathe and, exist.
Yep.
So when we were talking about what do we talk about on this week's episode, we've waited a couple of days because we're like, do we wait until after these bills have gone through or don't we? What do we do? And I listened to, and they're quite aligned, Sam Bamford and Two Worlds Collide podcast.
Yep.
I rate anything that he does. Just normal guys with a really strong opinion about who we are as Australians and what we should be standing up for. I listened to an interview that he did with a guy that I follow on Twitter, and they were both saying and they were both saying now, it's no longer acceptable for Australians to be apathetic.
Yeah.
That's our culture. Yeah. But if we continue along that trajectory, Australia's not going to exist anymore. We have to do something. And they were calling out content creators who were like, you've got bigger platforms than us. Why aren't you talking about this hate speech bill?
Interesting.
Why aren't you saying anything about it? Number one, you've got to get the message out because it's been rushed so quickly. Yeah. Number two, if we don't talk about it, then people don't know. Who's going to read a 500-page piece of legislation on a random Tuesday?
When you've got 4 days to read it.
And when you're a normal human, when you're a normal person. It's really important when we have platforms like this. And so that made me kind of go, okay, let's just do it. I know that it's being debated right now. Let's just talk about it because free speech does have something to do with homesteading. And that's what we want to talk about.
Yeah, and we've had that before a couple of times, you guys need to stay in your lane, blah, blah, blah. And it's but when is it, when is it not our lane?
That's over on the other channel though.
I know, but I guess what I'm saying is some of the pushback that we've had has been you guys are a homesteading channel, stop talking about political things.
Yeah.
And
so we made a podcast.
Yeah, well, I guess that's why we're doing this. But my response to that is everything is a political thing these days. If I want to swim in my cattle trough, it's a political thing.
We're not swimming.
Oh no, that's right.
We're cleaning it.
But honestly, if I want to follow an alternate understanding about health and medicine, if I want to pursue nutrition in the standard narrative way, if I want to educate my kids in a unique way, all of these things that we do as homesteaders also cross into that public discourse space, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And this one should be absolutely no exception. So I'm not expecting that there's any pushback, like especially not on this channel.
There's not on this channel. Actually, people have been saying, guys, stop apologising. Stop saying you got tinfoil hats on. Just
I like my tinfoil hat.
we're listening because
I know
this is the comments that we're getting. We're listening because we want to know what you think. That's pretty humbling. I'm like, why do you want to know what we think? We're nobodies. But obviously, we've got something valuable to say. Otherwise, like, thousands of people wouldn't listen to our podcast. So here's what we think. I
think, and just trying to think that thought out for a minute, the reason that we, like, why don't we just leave it up to Topher? Leave it up to, Isaac Butterfield. Leave it up to, like, all these other guys that have made,
great content.
Great content about this issue. Because we have a unique perspective on things, because we are, I guess, pursuing a lifestyle that's a little off the beaten track. And that's okay. And I think that actually has a direct bearing on this whole topic, because when you start prescribing behaviour to people, like here's how, so that's what a free speech or, like a hate speech bill does, and we'll talk about how it's changed. When you start prescribing behaviour to people, you're telling them, here's the lane and don't deviate from it. A lot of homesteading is outside of the lane. It's not, we talked about this in my podcast, we're not sovereign citizens, we're not declaring our own country here, we're not,
Even saying that word makes me feel nervous.
Yeah, I'll probably get that like little community note thing now on the bottom of the video because you mention a word.
We're not sovereign citizens.
I know, but what people want to discuss and hear from is people who aren't the Sky News presenter or the Channel 9 News presenter. They want to know from ordinary Australians who do ordinary things. And I think
we're pretty ordinary.
Yeah, look, it's not the norm, but it's also not,
it's not super far out.
Extraordinary.
So, context around all of this. There's no free speech rights that we have technically in Australia. So if you're
Some
like,
of them
we
are kind
have
of
the
like
right
implied.
to, and even listening to some Americans say, God gave us the right to free speech.
Where was that verse? I don't remember reading that one.
I wouldn't go so far as to say that.
Yep.
Even though I understand what you're saying and I completely agree. Like, we are born as humans with like
Free will.
Yeah. And we should have autonomy and a say in our own lives. We should be able to say whatever we think, just like you should be able to say whatever you think and not be punished for it. Unless you're like...
Yeah, but do you know what? Actually, just to counter to that...
Hurting... No, so isn't this interesting? Unless you're hurting someone, what does that mean?
Yeah, that's right. Just a little aside, I was thinking about this whole concept of free speech because it's relatively new. I mean, we're only talking a few hundred years ago when institutions who were an authority, and religious institutions are no exception.
You definitely didn't have any free speech then.
You weren't even allowed to, to read certain texts and things. So you could not speak out. So those ideas of being able to speak, and especially to speak out against power, they're relatively new ideas.
Sure.
We feel like they're, they're cemented in who we are, but they're only cemented in a few hundred years of culture.
Sure.
So, yes.
What do you think? What do you say, like 500 years?
So, you could go back
French Revolution was when?
So, things like the Magna Carta and, who was it that nailed his decrees to the church door? Man, I should know this one.
Jefferson?
No. Churchy guy. Like a Reformation kind of guy. No. Wilberforce was slavery.
I was ancient history guru, not modern history guru. Doesn't matter.
But, like a lot of these acts and actions and events took place, only within a few hundred years. So we're talking, multiple generations ago. But I guess I just point that out to kind of go, we feel like free speech is this enshrined right.
Inherent right.
Yeah, that we all have as human beings. It hasn't really existed for most of humanity. When you think about it, there's always been a king or some form of, like ruler or leader or tyrant or some religious institution that said, here's how the people should behave and here's what they're allowed to say and here's who they're allowed to challenge and what they're allowed to challenge them on. So this whole idea of free speech is, relatively new.
Do you think a human is born with the right to have their own opinions, though, and to think for themselves?
Oh, like that. We could get down a whole philosophical rabbit hole here about rights. What are your born rights? I think, yes, you're born with autonomy. You should have autonomy, right? Freedom of all sorts of things. Freedom of movement, freedom of expression, freedom of, what to say, who you're allowed to talk to, association, like all sorts of freedoms. Okay, just before a million cockatoos flew overhead. Yeah, it's hard to say, but I think that's why we have, laws that get made, because the community comes together, the public comes together and says, we believe that as a human being, these should be your rights. You should have these kinds of freedoms, because if you don't, you're oppressed. Freedom of speech, the fact that we don't have that one, and that only became clear to me in the last few years, and I guess because we consume a lot of American content. I don't just mean you and I, but like as a culture, we've like American TV has dominated TV, right? It surprises me that that's not one of them, because it just seems so fundamental to all of those other freedoms. How can you have freedom of bodily autonomy, of movement, of not being a slave, if you can't speak out against slavery?
Yeah.
How can you have freedom of religious expression if you can't, express your religion, which is a spoken thing, right? It's a belief thing. So it is a little bit weird to not have a constitutionally protected freedom of speech. That being said...
Do you know what we do have? A freedom of political expression.
Yeah, that's tricky, and I know that one's currently being argued against this under 16 bill for because it's basically we have shot down.
Is it political expression, or is it like they have the freedom to be able to engage in political discourse? Yeah.
So a 16-year-old can't do that now.
This is us exercising our right to have political discourse.
Well, true.
YouTube.
Yeah, however, that being said, that's a bit of a tricky one to prove, and I can't think of his name now, but his channel's called Punters Politics, and he just did one where he tried to get like insurance against like slander, I guess.
Yeah, right.
Or libel, I guess.
Yeah.
And no one would insure him, basically because he's too small. It turns out politicians are automatically exempt. In this country, if you are a politician, you can't be sued for libel, for things that you say. So I'll link to the video because he did a much better job of explaining this, but talk about a freedom that...
Dirty dogs.
Why do we give it to the politicians? Because we have that...
One rule for me and one rule for thee.
Yeah. So... What, it's not political speech unless you're a politician? Well, I declare myself a member of the Rustic Spirits Party. There we go.
Now you sound like a sovereign citizen.
No, I'm not going into politics. No, I'm not a sovereign citizen.
Do you know how many people in the comments say Regan for PM?
No way.
Sorry, no.
It's not happening. Okay, so yes, we don't have constitutional freedom of speech, but we do have some other protections.
Implied freedoms
of speech. So it's close, but it's certainly not like the American freedom of speech. We've talked about this on this channel before. But that is what came directly under fire with this bill. And there's a few problems with this bill. Number one, did he try to just do his own big, beautiful bill? So they're calling it an omnibus. But he just tried to jam all these things together that are seemingly related because of Bondi. And yet, and Topher makes a good point on this when he talks through all of the aspects of it,
we're going to link to all of the videos that we've been watching
acknowledging that it's changed. Yeah. But when he talked about it, all of the things that they proposed would not have prevented Bondi.
No.
Because that particular religious ideology, the extremist version of that religious ideology, would have been protected under the grounds of it being religion.
Yes.
No. They want to limit
Islam,
it to...
Christian...
Oh, yeah.
Christians are not protected.
Yeah. Yeah, we could get into that. They want to limit gun ownership to 4 guns. The guys had 4 guns and an improvised explosive device in their car. So
Do you know they've done that in New South Wales?
What's that?
They've passed that law. You can only have 4 guns.
Anyone, or is that recreational?
Don't know.
I would imagine if you're a primary producer, there might be a different category. And this is the argument that's been made. And obviously some of our more, country-based politicians are doing a better
Definitely.
job of standing up for the farmers. But there's a reason why there's a big swing of support over to One Nation right now, because they've always had the backs of the farmers, and now what they're saying makes sense to a lot of other people who aren't farmers.
Yeah.
So yeah, none of the things they put in his big beautiful bill would have prevented it.
Do you know why they do this?
Well, it's political theatre.
Yes. They package it all together and they try and get all of the different political parties on side so that they'll vote for it. And so what it is it's like, when you're selling a car and you know what price you'll go to, but you set your price up here. So there's wiggle room. So there's haggle room. You know it's negotiable, right? They package all this crap together, and then when the public outcry inevitably happens, they go, oh, okay, we'll take that part out, but we'll leave these parts here. And everyone goes, oh.
Which is what's just happened.
That's good. No. Because if that part that they're still putting through would have been brought up on its own, the outcry would have been the same. It's just games.
So let's also
everything's fake.
Talk about why it's being rushed. So
it's a week to the day since he announced it. Yeah,
and not only that, they've had, I think the details of this current version of the bill came out
7 o'clock this morning.
7 o'clock this morning.
Yep.
And the upper house is sitting today until 10, 11 o'clock at night, or however long it takes.
Like before we hit record, the lower house had passed it.
It already passed,
so it's going to
obviously
the upper house.
So they've got a day, and a lot of it,
not even a day. 10
politicians
hours.
are saying, under ordinary circumstances, a bill of this magnitude would have weeks, if not months, to be investigated, studied, call for feedback, do case studies, do research. So you have to ask the question, why did he rush a recall to sit, and why has this bill been jammed through? Can you think of any better explanation other than this is a face-saving exercise?
I don't
because he got slammed over not immediately calling for a royal commission into why this thing happened at Bondi in the first place. We want an investigation into how something like that can happen in this country. We pretty much already guess and suspect what the answers are going to be, but he can't do that. And so
it's not that he can't.
Politically, he can't do that.
He won't do that.
Yeah. So what do? You draft up a big, omnibus, and it makes it look like the whole thing about guns. And I'm watching some of the live stream of the Senate sitting right now. Most of these politicians are saying the same things. These gun reforms that they're proposing do not add to the Port Arthur 1996 gun reforms. We did need gun reforms back then. There was a bit of kind of cowboy, gun laws in place in this country. We standardised a lot of things. Did we go too far? Maybe in some cases, but by and large, most ordinary citizens didn't get punished. They just had to follow a new process. Now, these new reforms that they're proposing, that they're tacking on to a set of laws and reforms that already existed and worked, if they'd done their job, they would have worked because they would have picked this guy up. They don't enhance those laws in any way.
The only one good thing is you need to be an Australian citizen to hold a gun licence.
That's what they're adding to it?
Yes.
Okay.
We already said that that's what we wanted.
Just add that to it. But you know what they're saying? They're saying it's about the number of guns. Do you know...
There's too many guns in circulation.
Apparently we have, tens of thousands, or is it hundreds of thousands, however many thousands of guns now.
Millions.
since Port Arthur. Guns since Port Arthur.
Sure.
You know, we have 9 million more people since Port Arthur. But do you know that proportionally the number of guns in Australia, as in guns to people ratio, has decreased since 1996. We have some of the strictest gun laws in the world.
Let's make them stricter.
The failure wasn't... No, we don't even need to make them stricter. We just need to adhere to them.
And the challenge is more laws do not prevent the type of violence that we saw in Bondi.
You're not going to get
He was obviously
extremist
not
groups
adhering
go, the laws are harsher now, we should probably not do the thing we were thinking.
If someone's going to go and rob me at gunpoint, they're not reading the legislation to see whether they're allowed to do it or not.
Yeah.
Chances are they didn't even follow the legislation. Like, the laws are there for law-abiding people, and everybody else does whatever the flip they want.
So you've got to ask the question, why then propose a set of gun reforms that any reasonable person, speaking of reasonable persons, any reasonable person could look at and on the face of it say, these aren't going to prevent further acts like this. They wouldn't have even prevented that one that happened. Why then would you do that? It's political theatre.
Totally.
There's no other reason other than you are trying to be John Howard-esque in your response because that's what you do when a crowd of people gets shot up. Like, you're just paying lip service at that point.
There's a part of me that blames the media for this. And let's be honest, they're all in it together. It's all like a cesspool. Because, and you watch the mainstream media at my, wasn't my choice. And they're the ones that are like, why aren't you doing something about this? When are you introducing stricter gun laws? When's the Royal Commission, to their credit as well? And it's like, they're driving that narrative. You need gun laws. You need stricter gun laws. And so the person sitting at home in their armchair going, yeah, we need stricter gun laws. Like, it's all just brainwashing.
So, all right.
Okay, we've now that we're got all that negative energy out.
The gun laws in a previous episode. Who knows? We'll see tonight what happens. What I want to focus on in this episode...
It's going to happen. It's going to pass.
Do you reckon?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess we'll see.
It's going to pass. If there's nothing we can do about it.
I'll be pressing publish on this video. Oh, no, I won't, because they're going to be talking until late into tonight. What I wanted to talk about in this episode, though, was the free speech aspect of it. Now, had we made this podcast back on Thursday when we were supposed to, and then we just kind of went, let's wait and see, it would have been a totally different conversation because what they were proposing in that bill were hate speech laws, which they've since removed, which they had to do.
They're coming back.
This is my point. Why propose it in the first place? Surely you know it's too much. I look at all of this stuff that's happening and go, when you recognise a pattern, you should call it out. When there's laws that have been passed that kids aren't allowed to interact online on social media, and look, I will acknowledge, and our kids said on the last podcast, social media is a cesspit.
Yeah.
The answer isn't...
online games.
The answer isn't like authoritarian, it hasn't worked. I haven't yet met a single parent whose kid isn't still on social media who doesn't care that their kid is still on social media, right? So I look at that whole thing that's come into effect and isn't working. And then now I look at this, these hate speech laws that, all right, he had to pull that bit out of the bill, but he proposed it.
Yeah.
We should be concerned that he proposed it.
Put a pin in that as well. Bills like these take months, if not years.
To write?
The speed of the government is slower than a snail.
Oh, just try to get anything built.
Let me magically bring about a huge piece of legislation in a month. That we're going to pass in a week.
Yep.
They've been planning this.
Okay, let's clarify. We won't go...
They've been waiting for this.
Yeah. When you say they've been planning this...
They've been waiting for the opportunity to bring in laws.
Somebody had this saved on a computer, and when the time was right, they hit print. Yeah, you're exactly right.
Yeah. And with a choose your own adventure-esque, if this happens, we'll do this. If that happens, we'll do it.
Sure.
There's contingencies up the wazoo.
Sure. Okay, so let's talk about what is being discussed right now, what's in the bill right now. And some of it I could probably get on board with, except for the fact that I personally am a free speech absolutist, which means I give you the permission to say things that I completely disagree with and that may even hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
And who was,
Or offend me.
yeah, or offend me. Who was talking about this recently? The government should not be in the role of legislating feelings and who gets to do what with their feelings.
Well, that's part of what was in the legislation. It's like you only needed to feel threatened.
Yeah. So let me give you an example.
How do you legislate
Let me give you an
that?
example from the UK, because we have to look to where we're going, right?
Yep.
And there's a pretty clear correlation, you know, a trajectory that we're
UK,
following.
Australia, Canada.
You can kind of map it out.
New Zealand's kind of like coming along
A
behind.
few years ago, there was a personality, a Scottish guy by the name of Count Dankula. Funny guy.
Is that his Twitter name?
Just
or is that
a
his
random
real
guy.
name?
No, his real name is Michael Meechan, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Count Dankula, his girlfriend, got a pug, cute little pug. She loved her cute little pug. He thought, what could I do that would really annoy my girlfriend? Something like just horrible that this pug like just wouldn't be cute if it did it. So he taught it to give a Nazi salute. And he taught it to give a Nazi salute if he said certain phrases like, well, maybe I shouldn't say it on
No,
here.
please don't.
HH.
No.
Or
No.
or put certain people in certain rooms with certain toxins, right? So when he would say these phrases, the dog would,
That's awful.
you know, like lift its paw as though it was going to shake its paw, but it looked like it was doing a little...
Salute.
Do I think that was funny? Not personally.
I'm not allowed to laugh.
You're not allowed to laugh. Personally, I think it was poor taste, right?
Sure. I wouldn't have chosen
He put
to
it
do
online. His argument was he put it online just for family and friends to see. He wasn't all that big at that time. It went viral. Millions of
no.
hits. He got arrested. He got arrested for, under, at the time, a law called being grossly offensive. Was it grossly offensive? It's a subjective
Sure.
thing. The judge ruled he was not funny. It did not matter that he said that it was for comedic intent. In fact, the judge specifically stated in this case, intent does not matter in this case. And not only that, it was a victimless crime. And the judge also stated that it didn't matter that there wasn't a... No, I wrote this down because I want to get this right. There wasn't a particular person, essentially.
Yeah, there wasn't like an accuser.
Intent was irrelevant and there was
Yeah.
no specific victim. So there didn't have to be a victim. And even though he said it was just humour, the judge said intent doesn't matter in this case.
Ooh.
Grossly offensive is... So who gets to decide what's offensive, right? Because offence is a feelings-based law. Now, sure, he copped a fine. He was convicted. It was an £800 fine.
Wow.
It's a lot of money for a guy that's a YouTube guy that makes, his dog do Nazi salutes on YouTube. The point isn't, what's he whinging about? It was £800. He was lucky he didn't go to jail. No, the point is actually, why do we have laws and judges who say, nobody got offended, nobody actually got hurt. Do I think it's funny? Beside the point. Now, what you're going to have is a whole bunch of comedians going, ooh, I guess that topic's off the table now. Right?
We can't talk about that.
This is cancel culture, but it's cancel culture that is now becoming enshrined in law.
Oof.
So I only point that out to go, look
Law
ahead.
based on subjective
Who
ideas.
says? And that was what was in this bill. They were trying to get through, that they were lowering the threshold from violence to hatred. Who says it's hatred? Who gets to say what the intent is? Who gets to say whether somebody's feelings got hurt or there was an offence taken, basically?
We get trolls on our YouTube channel every single day.
Yep. And here's how we deal with it. A lot of the times, unless they...
Delete.
Sometimes I delete them. No, you're making the opposite point, actually. A lot of the times I'll leave their stupid trolly comments in place.
Oh, if they're gross, we delete them.
Yeah.
But that's you're coming to my house, I get to make the rules.
If they make a personal attack,
Sure.
and I get a little bit defensive about you, if they make a personal attack about you, I delete it. But if they disagree with me,
Sure.
if they vehemently disagree with me, if they go on one of those troll rampages where, as they're watching the video, they're just telling me everything that I'm doing wrong.
It's really fun having YouTube friends.
This just happened on Hayes Homestead.
Tobias and Danny, we were having this conversation with them today. We were sharing troll comments.
Yeah, very opinionated person
Yes.
who knew more about fencing and
I
walking
just don't
dogs than he did.
understand, you take the time to make these gross comments, just scroll past if you don't agree.
But they weren't. But here's my point: they weren't gross. I thought they were stupid. I thought they were
Oh,
ill-informed.
that's highly opinionated.
Yep, and thanks for your engagement metrics. That helps me a lot on YouTube. The point I was making, though, was a lot of the times we leave comments in place because it's not my job, even as the creator, as the owner of the original piece of content, to police the conversation afterwards. Now, I can throw in my 2 cents, but because I'm a free speech absolutist, like unless they are violating one of my laws, which is don't call my wife names, I basically leave the comments in place because I kind of know, do you know what? The public discourse is going to correct that behaviour and we'll get back on track.
Most often does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, they've removed the offensive speach stuff. For now.
Isn't that a signal? What you were saying about pattern recognition, and we've been talking about this over this whole last week. It starts as under 16 social media ban.
Protect the children.
Then it moves to here's who we decide are hate organisations and not.
Protect the minorities.
Subjective. Who gets to decide these things? Then it's like, oh, the misinformation, disinformation bill's coming back in, and guess what? It's getting rammed through too.
Yeah.
And, oh, we know you said no to digital ID, but it's coming into. You look down the track based on think about the things that are happening now that you go, that's never going to happen. And look at what it took to get us to here. All you've got to do is go, holy crap, it's kind of out of our hands. It doesn't matter what government that it doesn't matter how you vote. It doesn't matter that 30% of Australians voted independent in the last election.
That's telling.
And Labor still got in and everyone was convinced that he wasn't. You have to look at what's going on and you have to go, well, like the outcomes, it feels inevitable. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. What do we do then? Do you just roll over and take it and say thank you? What's our responsibility as not just homesteaders, but as homesteaders, as humans, as free humans, free thinking humans? What's our responsibility here? So
I'm hopeful, actually, because I do feel like the tide is turning. The whole idea of cancel culture, there is a groundswell of people who are like, do you know what? No, I'm not going to be silent anymore. And people are definitely speaking out. What you were saying about calling out public figures who, you've got a platform, you should be saying, we're seeing that now. We're seeing people who have a platform who, cultural commentators, political commentators, or just entertainers now going, I know this is a break from my normal programming, but we're going to have a conversation about this because it will affect me in the long term if we don't. There was a call to shut down not just Australia Day celebrations, but Australia Day entirely, coming from a particular, group, subsection of the community, who were, saying it's culturally insensitive, it's colonialism, it's all of the stupid arguments if you drill down into it. We're not allowed to have any cultural pride or identity anymore, according to these people. But you know what they were using? The hate speech bill that hadn't even been passed at that point. They were latching on to this idea and they were saying, in light of the fact that these new laws are coming and people are going to be offended by Australia Day celebrations, we are calling for the government to shut down Australia Day. You know what happened? They got shut down.
Really?
I feel hopeful and we're seeing it in Gen Z.
Right.
We're seeing it in an up-and-coming generation who are like, our parents were silent on a lot of stuff. And that hasn't really helped us look at the state of the world. So I'm kind of hopeful, that it can be that you get to your 40s and you go, oh, this new generation, they're all, I don't know.
I've never wanted to think like that.
No, I'm just saying it can be that you get to that and you become cynical about the generations that are coming up after you. And some of that is just a little bit of probably coming from a place of, did I do my part?
Yeah.
As the elders, as the wisdom that gets passed down. I'm hopeful because I think we are seeing that. But it has to start in spaces like this where we talk about what would it mean if these laws get passed in our group, in our community, in our family, in our village.
Yeah.
So maybe we should do that.
Okay.
What would it mean and you're saying you reckon this is going to get through.
I think it's inevitable.
What would it mean if these new proposed laws get through? What would it mean to homesteaders? Now, what would it have meant if they'd kept that portion of those like vilification laws in place is a lot different to what it will mean now. But there's still some stuff in there that's concerning. Things like association laws.
Yeah.
So, for example, they're saying part of the law is going to be that they can, go after some of these hate groups. On the surface of it, I don't have a problem with that, because if you're a neo-Nazi group and your entire agenda is persecuting someone on the basis of their race or their religion or whatever, then I think that's a pretty good thing. If you are see, a lot of it's going to get protected under religion. I was going to say, if you are a sect within a religious belief that is particularly vile and violent, you should be able to be gone after. That's not going to happen, though, on the basis of religion, unfortunately.
Unless you're a Christian.
So my concern is, and One Nation raised this concern with that aspect of the bill, who gets to decide how this association works? What if we, as a group that's not connected to that group, but say similar things to that group or align with them ideologically on some things?
In some kind of Venn diagram.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Are we now, by association, encapsulated in that group and liable to be persecuted because of a shared view or a shared ideology? And that should be concerning, because there will be some things that a neo-Nazi group might say about immigration, which I'm on board with. Don't like the neo-Nazis. Do think that our immigration policies are wildly out of control. Doesn't make me a neo-Nazi. But if you allow some of these slippery slope laws to, become enshrined in law, where does that... we saw this in WA when the Desi Freeman thing happened, sovereign citizen, and then the WA police decided to do a crackdown on sovereign citizens and particularly gun owners. They decided that people who had been to certain events or rallies or protests were, by association, sovereign citizens.
Oh, jeez.
So there was one particular story of a guy who was new in town, heard about a protest or a rally that was in support of farmers whose land was being taken off them. Went to this thing, signed his name on the petition at the rally, marched with everyone, or was there, at the gathering. Because he signed his name on a piece of paper, and it turned out that a part of that group were these sovereign citizen, kind of free-thinking kind of people. And not that free-thinking's a bad thing, by the way. He got on the list. They raided him. They found something wrong with the way that he was storing his guns, which might have been that, he had the key in the wrong place, or he didn't have his ammo stored exactly how. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Got his guns taken off him. Not a sovereign citizen. Not ever
Just
having posted anything online about, but literally because he went to it. Oh, that's a good idea. I'm in support of farmers. I'll go to that. See you later, buddy.
Yep.
We're lumping you in with that group. We should be concerned about that type of thing happening.
That's probably the biggest concern that I have, is not these laws themselves, it's the implications of what comes next after these laws, right?
Absolutely.
And retrospective as well. Part of that legislation is that it's retrospective.
Every flipping thing I've said online ever.
Yeah, but don't stop now.
Yeah.
Don't stop now because you're afraid.
Yeah.
It's
that's
already
exactly what
happening.
Cancel culture
you're
does.
already listening to the podcast.
Yeah.
If that's what you're interested in, it's already happened. So what do we do about it? What's our responsibility? And to an extent, this is a really difficult time because people of our age and under, even the baby boomers, we've lived in the greatest peacetime in history.
We've got very complacent because of it.
We have no clue what it's like to be in this kind of transition as a society. And mark my words, things are changing very quickly. Within a couple of years, we could look like the UK, where you're getting locked up for your social media likes.
Thousands of people.
What you post on social media, how you interact on social media.
Yeah, there was... a girl whose, I want to say friend, I don't think it was a family member, passed away, died. I think it was a car accident. Was mourning, obviously, her friend, and decided, you know what, I'm going to make a post about it, and I'm going to include the lyrics to her favourite song. Was a rap song, had the N-word in it.
Jeez.
Posted the lyrics. Another artist.
Copy and paste.
Yeah, just literally copy paste. Another artist has already come up with this expression
geez.
and hasn't been jailed for it. But she posts the lyrics to a song because they have meaning, because that was her friend's favourite song. Arrested.
Jeez.
Charged. Found guilty.
It's easy to kind of have these, what's the word that I'm looking for? Anecdotal
It's not
stories.
anecdotal when it's in the thousands.
No, but like that, I feel like sometimes, and the trap of being a content creator is you have to be a little dramatic and you have to like, drum up views,
Yeah.
right? I don't want to ever be like that. It's easy to kind of throw these anecdotal stories around and go, "Ooh, what are we going to do?"
Yep.
What does a normal, reasonable, everyday Australian do? We're just trying to afford our electricity. Well, we're not, but like we're trying to afford our electricity prices and deal with our grocery bill
Yeah.
and live our lives with our kids and just try and not have a suckful life. Like really, like that's
Do you know
what does
what?
a normal Australian do now? Do we just go, let's hope for the best and stick our head in the sand and be apathetic? I don't
Yeah,
think that
yeah.
that's what is this time is calling for.
Yep.
We often talk about like, are we going to talk about this or are we just going to like check out, live in our little slice of paradise
Yep.
where it won't affect us? Unfortunately, ultimately it will affect us. We don't know how. So like I think back to the people that fought in World War I and World War II and that like free world that we've lived in, the sacrifice of that. Is this our moment that we have to stand up and go, actually, no. Yes, you're going to threaten me with jail if I post the wrong thing on social media. Does that negate the responsibility that I have to stand up and speak about what I think is important for my kids to be able to live in a world that I fought for?
Yeah.
And like, yeah, I'm not in the trenches, like it's
Yeah.
not, I'm not trying to liken myself to a war veteran at all. But you get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, how does that Abraham Lincoln quote go? To the person who desires to give up a little freedom for a little safety deserves neither freedom nor safety.
Yeah.
You don't understand that trade-off until you've made it and it's too late is kind of the point. I would say the first thing that we should be doing as citizens, not just us as, kind of social commentators or whatever, but everyone should be educating themselves. And I don't mean that means watching Sky News or, what's the morning program? I don't even watch these shows anymore. Sunrise? Sunshine. All right, Sunshine. Like those programs, they have an agenda, they are bought,
Yes.
they are co-opted. You cannot trust them, but you can do your own research because we
Yeah.
live in an age where information is abundant. Use tools. Number one, just use search. Just use Google or DuckDuckGo or whatever to search. The first few articles that you're going to get if you click on that news tab are going to give you a varied perspective from other reporters, but also use AI. Now, I know what people are going to say about AI. Learn how to use AI in a way that you know that you are smarter than it. So I'm learning ChatGPT is not the best at this because on a day that an event happens, if you start asking it about that event, unless you specifically tell it to go searching the internet, which it now has the capability to do, it's pretty useless at that. Grok, on the other hand, is pretty awesome because it can search through X, but X is a whole lot of just like opinions and like
It's the number one
and false
used
information.
app in most countries.
It's news app.
Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So that's telling. I'm finding that Perplexity is a really good research tool. And so get yourself across those things. I literally did that in preparation for this conversation. I had seen an X post from John Cleese. I like John Cleese. He's fun. What's not to like about John Cleese? He made a post in response to somebody that shared a post saying that a particular Muslim group were calling for the banning of dogs in the UK because they find them offensive. And John Cleese reposted that and commented, then go back to a country where they've already banned dogs, you'll feel more comfortable. Unfortunately, it was a hoax post from like 8 years ago, and he got caught up in it. Now, that can happen. I nearly shared that as an example because I was like, this is ridiculous when it gets out of hand. And I went, better just check that. Little fact check on Grok. Turns out, unfortunately, he made a public apology about it and all of that. I didn't see that. I saw his post. So do your research. Do your own self-study.
My position now is I've probably been not brainwashed because that sounds so extreme. I've been conditioned by the news, school, the narrative my entire life. This is the point that I've come to. I've been conditioned to think about the world a certain way. Right?
Okay.
My position now, whenever I look at anything online, is that it's fake. Honestly, that's my first thing is that it's not real. I never accept anything as gospel.
Where do you think that started?
Even you now, you're like, I've just read this and I'm like, can you fact check that?
Yeah.
And I've always just taken whatever you've told me like as true gospel because like why would you? And it's not that you're lying and it's not necessarily that these other people are lying. It's that you're right. There's so much information. There's too much information that you get this overwhelm and you just go, oh, well, I like that guy, so I'm going to like repeat everything that he says.
Yeah, exactly.
Do it with us as well. Like we're trying to be very objective and very measured, but we have opinions, we have flaws. Build yourself your own little team of people that you trust to commentate on the things that are happening in the world. But then do your own research as well. And it doesn't need to take like hours and hours and hours. You can use AI or you can like build your critical resources as your framework for here's some new information. There's this hate speech bill that they're passing before Australia. What is this person saying? What is that person saying? What is this person saying? Do they all agree? Am I in an echo chamber? Okay, what is this person saying? Build your critical thinking skills. That's probably more important than ever, is to start to realise how passive our generation, like, because we grew up before the internet, like we didn't have the internet as kids. But like everything that I read on the internet is true. Like Facebook told me, TikTok told me, oh my goodness, that's terrible. Build yourself your own critical thinking framework and references to be able to go, the minute I heard what was happening at Bondi, I was straight onto Twitter. X. Because I knew that was where I'd be able to get the most current information. And not on my For You page, on the people that I'm following. Understand how algorithms are shaped to provide you the information that reinforces what you already think.
Or not only that, but to produce an emotional response in you. I know this being a content creator. If I put out a video saying tragedy, failure, we stuffed up, that video is going to get so many more hits than what I learned about gardening.
It's so hard for us because we try so hard to be honest
and authentic.
But if you want to get the clicks, and the clicks means dollars, let's not lie about that.
Yes, but what
But we're just like,
do you sell your soul,
mate?
So what I would put this like kind of litmus test before yourself to go. If I watch this, say I watched the Oddcast with Topher and Carls.
Love spicy Carls.
And it produces an emotional response, gets
you real riled up. Yeah.
A little hack that you can do, this might be too much for some people, that episode has a transcript. You can plug the link of that YouTube video into a transcript tool. I'll link to one down below that I use. You can get a text version of that entire thing. You can go copy, paste into Grok, ChatGPT, whatever, and go, I want you to analyse the transcript of this commentary that just happened and point out any flaws in their thinking or where they might have got things wrong, or what other people might be saying in opposition to these views. That is a really challenging thing to put yourself through, because it's actually a whole lot easier to sit back in your armchair, like you're saying, and go, yeah, that's right. I like that guy, so I'm going to agree with everything that he says, instead of putting yourself in that place of critical thinking and going, they're human and fallible. Maybe they've got some of this stuff wrong as well. And I will particularly do that like around all of this bill.
Absolutely.
There is a lot of information to digest and consume, and
it's coming so thick and fast.
I'm not going to assume that everyone's got it right. Like what you were saying about when Bondi was happening and we were watching it in real time on X, at the same time, a lot of people got some facts wrong.
Yes.
You have to learn now that in the age of instant media, this is why it's so dangerous for them to be proposing misinformation laws, because the challenge is always going to be who gets the information, the content out there first. And when you're going for first, you're sacrificing a little bit of accurate.
We're going back to the newsroom again too.
The newsroom.
My favourite show.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay.
I'm on a mission to civilise.
In the last few minutes we've got, let's talk about how this specifically, we were going there, applies to homesteaders and homesteading.
Well, as we've been having this conversation, I've been really thinking about the process that we've been on for the last 15 years. Like when we were like, the way that we've been living is unsustainable, and that we've been following the script and that didn't serve us. And ever since that happened, we've been consistently peeling back our, let's say, conditioning, and really learned how to question what is should. You should do this.
Yeah, who says?
Who says and why.
Yeah.
And that has stood us in really, like, it happened with school and schooling our children turned out to be like one of the best things that probably one of the things I'm going to be most proud of in my life is that we did that for our kids.
Yeah.
You should eat based on the food pyramid. What is should? Who said?
You should trust the science.
Who bought that information?
Yeah, who paid for that?
Let's just say 2020. Oh, no, you should buy a house, and here's a really shitty mortgage just before the GFC happens, and we lost everything. And when I mean everything, I mean everything. You should do this.
Yep.
And then where did that put us?
Yep.
Fight our way back out of that. 2020 to 2022 happens. You should trust the science.
Yep.
Isn't that all coming out to be like?
But so much of it, this is the thing, so much of it came out almost straight away. Mask mandates and social distancing got disproven so immediately, and yet people are still wearing masks today. Now, there are some good reasons for wearing masks. There are some genuine health reasons for wearing masks. But in terms of preventing the spread or transmission of a virus, completely zero effect. The general public hasn't been re-educated on this point, because you got vilified if you stood against Fauci and his science, right? And now, let's not even go into it, but all of these, these medicines, so-called, are being explored, and it turns out, lo and behold, when you rush medicines, there are some long-term effects that we couldn't have or should have predicted were going to happen.
I often think about what we don't know yet about mobile phones, because they haven't been around long enough.
Yeah. That's the same as social media, what we don't know about.
Because the speed of everything's moving so quickly, but what I'm saying is the process that we've put ourselves through is the more that you uncover, the more you go, everything is like, honestly, we're at the point where like, I don't trust anything unless I've put it through and I'm a little bit older now, so I can say I do have a set of filters that I have developed. Can I be wrong? 100%. Is it slightly terrifying to put my opinions out there for the world to listen to? Yeah, it is. But hopefully this can give people permission, particularly if you're watching our podcast. You've got a bent towards the lifestyle that we're living, which is homesteading, being more reliant on our own autonomy rather than the systems that are.
It's a free thinking lifestyle, right? I think that's why homesteading can become a little bit of a black hole, because one of the things that, you gravitate towards it is because you are already of the inclination that I'm going to do some of this thinking for myself. You're right. For us, schooling was a big catalyst for it, because we questioned the entire schooling system. And for the record, I'm an educator.
Yeah.
And so I knew that parts of it were broken and certainly didn't serve at least our family specifically.
Family, that's right.
I've got more to say on why I think the whole system's broken, but we won't go there now. You start to go into some of these things, and the first thing you do is you educate yourself, and then it's like science, isn't it? You form a hypothesis. I need to study this because I don't understand it. I've got a hypothesis as to why. You test your hypothesis, and then you evaluate the results, and then you move forward from that. You do all of the work to gain all of the understanding to go, I now am in this more well-educated for myself position to go, I can make this decision. So we did it about schooling. We did it about nutrition. We did it about health.
Second nature.
We did it about, the air we breathe. We did it about what we believe about government. We did it, and so when things like 2020 happened, it was easy for us to go, we're not cynical, we're healthily skeptical.
Yes.
Because that's what we do.
And history and recent history has told us that we need to be.
Yeah, that's what I mean about being cynical.
But what I would say is, have your hypothesis, test it, have your outcomes, and hold that lightly enough. Don't become an asshole.
Yeah.
Hold that lightly enough to be able to be proven wrong when you put it under the microscope again.
Yeah.
And that's how you become a really wise, really well-rounded, well-educated, strong, dependable person, because you're not easily swayed.
Yeah, that's right.
It's not like, this headline, it's going to undo me. No, you understand, you have a strong sense in what you believe.
Yeah.
And I do believe that a lot of homesteaders are like this.
Yeah.
Not easily swayed, stoic, grounded, realistic. Not like sensational.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, but also not stubborn, not stuck.
Oh, no, there's some stubborn people out there.
Definitely, but it's a little bit like homeschooling, isn't it? There's some weirdos in the homeschooling movement. It doesn't make every kid that homeschools a weirdo.
Yeah.
Just like there's some stubborn and, stuck and, Luddite types in the homesteading movement. It doesn't make us all that way, just because it attracts a certain larger proportion of those kinds. I guess in summing all of this up, my concern, and you can add to this, my concern is when we start to allow our government to have these kind of says into our personal lives, like the point of government for me is that they would represent the people. I don't see any of that representation happening right now. They're conducting political theatre for the sake of their own political careers. When we start to allow government to step into our homes to greater and greater extents, we start to give up some of those very freedoms that we educated ourselves on in the first place. That's where my fear, if you want to call it that, exists, is that I've already done all the work. I've already come to the conclusions about what I believe about education, health and nutrition and free thinking. I'm where I am now because I've done all that work. How dare they come in and say, ooh, that thinking is scarily close to this other kind of thinking, and how far do we let them go? If people can be arrested for stupid things that they teach their dogs to say, lyrics that they post online, or silently praying outside of an abortion clinic, which was another example of something that happened, I don't even necessarily agree with all of those things. In fact, most of them I don't. But those are, and being a free speech absolutist, those are expressions of freedom that, coming back to your original question, what freedoms are we inherently born with? I don't have to agree with you. I don't even have to like you, but I want to give you the same freedom that I expect for myself that led me to this lifestyle in the first place. Because otherwise, if I agree that it should be taken away from you, then down the track, someone's going to agree that it should be taken away from me.
Yep. 100%. And as homesteaders, our very lifestyle at some point is going to be dangerous. Dangerous.
Yeah. They've said that in other countries. Homeschooling is dangerous.
Dangerous just means uncontrollable.
In fact, they said that after 2020, didn't they? Homeschooling groups in particular were dangerous because what are they teaching their kids about medical misinformation?
Dangerous equals uncontrollable. That's in the newspeak.
Oh, yeah.
And if you've never read 1984, you really need to. Like, you really need to.
I really like Topher's shirt. I think I might get it.
Yeah.
Too much 1984, not enough 1776.
Well, the rustic rules apply. Oh, I like that.
Rustic rules.
Kirsty's marketing brain kicks in.
Rule number 1.
Don't be a dick.
Yeah, it should just start there. You pretty much only need that rule.
Don't be a dick.
But then who gets to decide? This is the problem. Who gets to decide?
Who gets to decide?
And the government just shouldn't get to decide a whole lot of stuff. That's the problem.
I'm a fundamental libertarian.
Yeah.
Personal freedom, small government.
As small as you can make it.
Absolutely.
For the public good.
Yeah,
Yep.
for the public good. That's right.
We need government. We don't agree with our neighbours a lot of the time, or we don't agree with people from other countries a lot of the time. So we need people to stand in and go, well, let's get consensus. That's their job.
Well, maybe if people were less dicks, then there wouldn't be neighbours who are dicks.
Yeah. For the record, we don't have... Oh, yeah, there might be a few of those around the place, but our immediate neighbours certainly aren't. I really like those neighbours right there, and I really like those neighbours right there. So, on that note...
I'm really interested to hear what you think about that last point that you just made. Who gets to decide? Who gets to decide?
It doesn't need to be decided.
I'm really interested about the comment section on this one because we're going to be like, we're finishing. We're hopefully going to have this up pretty quickly.
I'm not even going to edit it. There was one bit where an ant bit you on the leg. I might edit that bit out. Other than that, let's press publish.
Let the comment section fly.
See you on the next one.